let's get into Real Housewives of New York. Before we get into highlights, Dylan, I'm curious, do your power rankings of the Housewives change after watching this episode?
I don't think so. No. I mean, I don't think I power ranked all of them. I think I mostly just said that I thought like Jenna followed by Ubah were the ones who came out best. And after a second episode, my opinion hasn't changed. I do think basically through 2 episodes, we are watching the Jenna Lyons show. With like a very fun supporting turn by Ubah being fucking a bizarre human being. And nobody else has come out and stood forward yet. It's the second episode. That'll come, I'm sure. But for now, we're getting like a lot of really good emotional content from Jenna, who's like such an immediately distinctive person, and then like a bunch of other women.
I'm still like, we didn't see Brynn basically at all this episode,
No, she really
which I was disappointed by. But we're gonna see her next week, according to the previews. So pretty stoked about that. But I would agree, like Jenna Lyon and Ubah are the two standouts from this episode. And then in terms of like the rest of the women that we did see here, I like what Jessel is bringing to this. I'm still like kind of unsold on Aaron and Sai. We haven't like Sai hasn't been given a lot of opportunity. She hasn't had like a lot of screen time, and we're seeing her like kind of take advantage of the screen time that she's getting, but it still has been a little flat for me. But Aaron has been getting a lot of camera time, and it's not like, I don't know, I'm not very engaged by her yet. Still early in the season. Sean, what were your highlights here?
Well, I agree that Jenna and Ubah are like sort of in a league of their own as the most interesting so far. I really like. I love everything about Ubah. How Ubah's she's like an alien who's come to Earth and is like just delighting. Like she's like a very like pure and innocent space alien who's just like delighting in the world around her, and it's just like so like fun to watch. I can't take my eyes off Ubah. Like that little mission she goes on to get a sandwich at Provisions that she's been talking about the whole ride, and there's this shot following her, and she's like so excited and she can smell it, and then it's closed. And like, and when she goes and
what was she smelling?
Right? just the Hamptons. When they go, she goes into like the walk-in at that restaurant and takes a can of coconut milk, but she's like, oh my God, you can never find this coconut cream anywhere. Look, you have to get
it's just regular coconut milk.
You live in New York City and you can't go get a can of coconut milk?
I'm sure you could go to any bodega and pick that off the shelf, but she's never been to a bodega, so she doesn't know.
Like it's 9:30 at night in Winnipeg, and I could walk down the street and get a can of coconut milk. But like, love just everything about Ubah is amazing. Her proud starfish status. My other big highlight is, in a nutshell, Jenna, but it's this one moment in particular. This is great juxtaposition where Jenna's talking about her mom had, I guess what at the time would have been Asperger's. And it's like, I think it's like a pretty good emotional confessional, like describing how her mom was diagnosed late in life. And like, I get a lot of like sympathy for that. Like, it's got to be really hard growing up, hard for the mom, hard for the kid. And then we cut right to Aaron being like, basically like, yeah, we like Jenna, but her mom was a bitch and raised her wrong. And sometimes she acts like a bitch. Like how to do and not do autism awareness in 2 shots. I also, so I do have a note written here that says, before I had their name straight, high levels of sympathy for autistic fashionista. And then right under that is the note where she explains that her mom has Asperger's, and it's just me writing the word
You know what? I literally did the same thing in my notes. Literally, like in the first like 10 minutes of the episode, I wrote a note that says Jenna has strong autism vibes, in parentheses complimentary.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean.
and then later on, when she talks about her mom having Asperger's, it made it a lot more significant and deeper. Like, I guess what I mean when I say that it's not like in like a medical diagnosis sense, it's just that she's got this very compelling combination of like assured confidence while also being like really insecure at the same time, like somehow simultaneously very insecure and very confident in a way that like to me reads as like autism vibes in like in a compelling, interesting way that I like. And then when you see her as somebody who is the child of somebody who had autism that wasn't like diagnosed at the time, and that the way that she like really struggled with her childhood because of that, and then you imagine her like being afraid of that part of herself too, because she doesn't want to be somebody who doesn't care, the way that she saw her mother as being somebody who doesn't care. And that is just one of the many things that feed into this portrait we get of Jenna in this episode, which is a very rich one. Like we really get to see her, we get to see a lot of her for like, one single episode that's like really, really interesting.
Yeah, you get a lot of like stuff with her mom and like her like kind of being forced to come out, and like all in like a few scenes you get so much of Jenna.
Yeah, and the way that she discusses discovering that she's gay as an adult was really fascinating to me. Like really just like an interesting conversation of like the way somebody deals with their own sexuality and just like how way more complex those kind of things are than we generally think they are. It was just like a really, really interesting conversation.
Yeah, totally. And I love how openly she like wears her wounds from everything. I think it's like a flashback clip where they're talking about when her mother passed away, shortly after her mother passed away, and I think it might have been Jessel or her mother was like, "Oh, were you guys close?" And she's like, "No, not at all." Just like really like presenting these battle scars that she's got very openly, and I really appreciate that within a reality star. And I thought it was interesting the contrast that we get, because at the dinner she talks about how she is seeing someone that it seems serious, but she doesn't want to bring them on the show, which is very, very uncommon for someone who is a full Apple holder or whatever they hold on any of the other franchises, and not show their partner that part of their home life is very uncommon. But I can't really fault Jenna for not, because she's giving us like so much of herself on this in these first 2 episodes at least, that I don't feel like I'm only getting half of the picture.
Yeah, and as somebody who was again like publicly outed basically against her will, you could understand why she would be a little cagey about these things, while also wanting to be a reality TV star, which is a great duality of her persona.
Oh, my other like little highlights, when they go to the restaurant and Ubah has to face north or face away from north, whatever it is. There's two amazing things.
She's just
in that
moss.
scene.
She's literally moss.
Well, because it's true north. That's her whole explanation. But the 2 little amazing things that stand out to me is, I don't know who, but someone's like, "Oh, like, is that Mecca?" I'm like, what? And then the other one, I don't remember who, but it might be in the confessional, and someone's like, "Of course, Ubah's going to bring a compass to the restaurant." No, she brought her phone. She didn't bring it's not like, "Oh, the weirdo brought a compass." She brought an iPhone to the restaurant.
Yeah, and she's like, "I have a compass on my phone." I'm like, I have an iPhone 5 and has a compass on it. Right. Like, it's not a cool new thing. Yeah.
I really appreciate the spirit of, is it Jessel? Teasing for next time, because it's new season. They don't have, there's not like a rich backstory of dramas. So in the tease where they're like creating the drama, just really love the fighting spirit to go out there and create that about the.
Okay, you know what? Though, in Jessel's defense, that was a terrible fit for her. It looked bad.
I agree.
Her.
No, I totally.
It was a bad
agree.
choice.
Yeah, like
because I see like they're trying to make it out into a thing like she's being a bitch to Jenna. Okay, I get it, but also it did look really bad on her. It was poorly picked for her.
She got the worst one. Yeah,
you could see how it like completely changed her posture when she put it on. Like she's like hunched over and like so insecure and like feeling awful about it. I felt bad for her, but I'm very excited to see what sort of conflict this creates.
Yeah,
and also to like spend the whole episode being like, "Ha, you don't fuck your husband," and then give her like the frock of lingerie.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of mean.
Here's your cloak.
Yeah. Maybe your husband will fuck you if he doesn't have to look at any of your skin.
Yeah, which is true. When she's talking about like she's insecure about her cesarean scar, and they're like, maybe you could cover it up. I'm like, is that the best answer? Maybe you could wear a shroud with a hole in it. Okay, guys, come on.
Okay, we need to reboot this series again.
Yeah.
Dylan, what were your highlights from this?
I don't believe the caviar caterers are real professional caviar caterers. I don't believe that exists. I think that
She's
these
the
are
caviar mermaid, actually, and she was on Watch What Happens Live.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, why is she a mermaid?
That's the name of her
are
business.
there her own eggs? Just color me intrigued.
If we post this on Instagram, she's gonna have to rebrand. That's awful.
I thought those were just like two kids from the neighborhood that she hired to go get Pringles at the corner store at Provisions.
I assume that there are two people who like just put out a bunch of like bullshit like Craigslist ads waiting to get any hit. Just being like, yeah, we're the foie gras specialists if you want to answer this ad. Like,
they're actually like performance artists.
Yeah. And then whatever somebody answers to, they'll be like, okay, yep, sure. We'll get a couple of tins from the store and show up and like, and just talk some mumbo jumbles and be like, yeah, we picked up a tube of Pringles. So this is a thing.
It's literally just caviar on Pringles and caviar on like cucumbers and maybe some cream cheese or something.
Yeah. Which I mean, caviar is great. So I guess
sure,
you can, you can put it on a lot of things, but it's like a professional caviar consultant. Is that really what? All right, I'll let it slide. Do
you know what a ghost kitchen is? Like on the delivery services? Okay, yeah. So maybe it's like that, except that's kind
like,
of the
that's
high
for like
end.
fleecing rich people in the Hamptons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, actually, I've changed my mind. I love them.
Yeah, you know what? I do think caviar is great. I love caviar, but I do think it's really funny to be like in somebody's house and you're really hungry, and they're just like, "We only have caviar on individual Pringles."
Yeah.
Eat as much as you like, but that's the only thing you can eat. Yeah, it's just really funny.
Got it on regular and dill pickle.
Oh, that's the one thing I don't like much about Jenna is her aversion to dill.
Yeah, me too. What do you got?
The only thing about Jenna that's not relatable.
Say it to my fucking face, Jenna. Other than that, I would just like a few more highlights from Ubah being the most bizarre, ethereal weirdo. She very briefly said that she smoked weed once and ended up in the hospital. What were you doing? What were you doing so wrong?
Doesn't she say it like, I smoked weed once? No, hospital, or something to that effect?
Yeah. She says something about like how they used to tell the time back in the day. She's like, they used to use the sun. They'd lick a finger and hold it up. Like, girl, what? Those are two different things.
You can still use the sun to tell you what time of day it is.
Yeah. Like, just lick up a finger, or like a finger and hold it up.
Or if you want to know where north is, you can like use the sun.
There's a very brief clip of her near the end eating an orange in the most fucked up way I've ever seen somebody eating an orange. I don't know if you noticed it. It was like a second long, but she's holding like half an orange and smushing it and like pouring the juice and pulp into her mouth, which is just very strange. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, yes. All the shots of women slurping oysters while Jen is talking about discovering that she's gay is also good work. Yeah.
This is a rough episode for Jessel because we also had a scene where Jenna like calls out her fashion choice. She calls her like a fashion victim.
I mean, she was wearing two brand names on her at the same time.
Even I know
she's a fashion influencer or something like that.
Yeah. As Jenna says, like she's a fashion influencer. Yeah, Jessel got her licks in this episode for sure. That and the fact that Jessel apparently was just like, eventually married her roommate.
Yeah,
which is
that's far more damaging.
He was just there. Yeah, exactly. For me, that's the bigger indictment. That like he was just there long enough that eventually her parents were like, well, you know what, you might as well, and she was like, okay.
Good enough.
Yeah.
I wonder why they're
this
not
is a rough. Well, yeah, I'm excited to see how she responds because I do think that she is like a pretty just likable. She has a very likable personality, so I want to see her make some waves. Overall, I think this is a very likable cast for the most part. You know,
Yeah,
everyone seems fun and engaging, so excited to see what comes.
yeah.